This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome to the Fee for Service Dentist Podcast. Dr. Sonny Spirit. Today, my guest is Dr. Joseph DalBon. He is a fee for service dentist who ran into a little serious life situation right at the end of 2019. Talks a little bit about perseverance. He's also going to talk about his road to full fee for service. Practicing in a one-operatory office with a shared mini reception area. Made it work. Worked 6 days a week. Grew it after 5 years. Built his own practice. Now as an associate, doing great. Practices how he wants, when he wants, and makes what he wants. So I think you're going to really appreciate his story. It's a great one, and it's a very testament to perseverance, both in your practice and your private life. As always, Fee for Service Dentist Podcast brought to you by Kettenbach Dental. Kettenbach is excited to announce the first major advancement in fluoride varnish treatments. No longer using alcohol or resin, it's Proficel or Proficel. Dan corrected me. It's instead, patients will want this new treatment delivered with a muco-adhesive dimethicone gel. Leaves a smooth, silky, lubricious feel and no more grit. Contact Kettenbach today for details and do more varnishes that people will appreciate, patients appreciate. Or call them at 877-532-2123 or visit KettenbachUSA.com. If you like the podcast, click like, subscribe, share it with your friends. The video version's on YouTube. It's been a lot of fun now. We're putting that broadcast out in several different media venues. If you don't like it, well, hell, hit me up, sonnyspirit@gmail.com or 607-624-2962. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show.
My name is Drew Burns, and I'm a part of a small group of dentists who believe something crazy. We believe that the standard of care is just not good enough. We demand the best of ourselves and the best for our patients. We believe that the best way? No, the only way to practice dentistry is on our own terms. If you ask the dental consultants or the corporate CEOs, they tell you that what we're doing isn't smart, that fee-for-service dentistry is dead, and that the golden age of dentistry is over. Yet, while others focus on profits first, we focus on the patient first. And yet, our offices are some of the most profitable in the entire country because we invest in ourselves and we are doing things right. It's our name on the door and it's our reputation on the line. This is the
Welcome to the Fee
Dentist
for Service
Podcast.
Dentist Podcast.
These
Dr.
are our
Sonny
stories.
Spirit. I am wearing my Syracuse gear today. We have a Syracuse graduate guest. So a little orange in the house. If you can't stand it, well, too bad. It's Syracuse Day. All right. So we have Dr. Joseph, goes by Joe DalBon, and his patients call him Dr. Joe, known for his caring touch, his humorous tone, and makes even the most nervous patient at ease. He was raised in West Caldwell and North Caldwell and has firm roots in those communities that he now supports and serves. He's a 1992 graduate of UPenn Dental Medicine and 1988 Syracuse grad. We're going to put that in. We overlapped at Syracuse by 1 year. His freshman year, Joe's freshman year, I was a senior. I'm still the old man here, so that's all right. Joe received a Certificate of Merit from the American Society of Dentistry for Children in 1992, and he completed a GPR at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center in 1993. He received advanced training in all phases of general dentistry as well as management of severe facial trauma and full mouth reconstruction. It's kind of cool for a GPR. He was awarded the Fellowship of Academy of General Dentistry award received by less than 3%. And in 2002, advanced implant training in a mini-residency at Rutgers Dental School. He received his Certificate in Proficiency in YAG lasers and the World Clinical Laser Institute. And I'm going to screw this up, but just put it this way. He knows lasers. He knows CO2 lasers. He knows erbium. He knows erbium, NID-YAG, ERG-YAG, ERG, YSGG, and a whole bunch of other letters. Okay, I know diode, and I stopped there. 2014, he was awarded the Fellowship Academy of Laser Dentistry. So I'm sure you know Ron Kamner a little bit.
Yep.
He has been recognized New Jersey's top dentist for the past 9 years in healthy living in Morris Essex Health Life Magazine. And he also volunteers his dental service to veterans in need through the Dental Lifeline Network. And I love that, man. He's also an active member of Western Essex Dental Association, American Academy of General Dentistry, American Academy of Dental Sleep Medicine, Academy of Laser Dentistry, there's a shocker, World Clinical Laser Institute, okay, American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, American Academy of Implant Dentistry, Academy of Clinical Laser Dentistry, American Academy of Cosmetic Orthodontics. I'm so glad you didn't give me all these initials, man.
I need to get a hobby, huh?
Welcome to the show, man. When do you have
Oh,
time
so
to
happy
work?
to be here. Great to talk to you.
That's a lot of education. I love it. I mean, you're committed to it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love CE.
That's great stuff. Now, are you anywhere near Rasner, Steve Rasner?
No, I don't believe so. Where's he located?
Oh my gosh, I wish you didn't ask me that. He's a little bit southern Jersey. He's a little southern Jersey. The community he's in. He talks about the county he practices in. It's not too far from. I think it's down by the PA border, Trenton area.
Oh, then he's further than me. I'm about a half hour due west of New York City.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, he's south of that. Yeah, he's down there. All right. Well, all right. Let's start, man. Start at the beginning. What do your folks do? What'd you get into dentistry? Let's start there.
Well, I was the first person in my family to go to college, let alone, graduate school or dental school or anything like that.
Cool.
Went to Syracuse, had a great time, loved it there. Was
of course
bio major.
Dr. Druger just
Dr. Druger, yeah.
Went to his birthday party Sunday.
Did you really?
He is still full of he's a comedian making jokes. He's
God
incredible.
Bless him.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Now, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Miss Marzullo?
I do not.
All right. She was one of the advisors.
How about Margaret Brown? Was she there when you started? She was a pre-health advisor for me.
She probably had a different one. I had Miss Marzullo, and she's the one that got me interested in dentistry. She recommended a dental internship while I was there. So I went to SUNY Med, did a dental internship as an assistant, and fell in love with it.
Dr. Margaret Brown looked at me and said, "You ain't gonna make this. Pick something else." Advisor.
I think Marzullo used you as a little bait too. She's like, "Well, Sonny Sparrow, he's going to be a dentist." I'm like, "Wow, basketball player? That's cool. All right, I'll do it."
Wow, I'm glad times changed. Otherwise, Dr. Brown, she would have been like, "Well, someone got through the cracks. I couldn't believe he did it."
But yeah, I got turned on to it there and loved it. So decided to apply to dental school. Went to dental school. And from there went to my residency. Residency was amazing. And that really prompted me to, advance myself and become the best dentist I could be.
How organized was your residency? It sounds like if you're doing serious trauma, and that's not just person walking in with a broken tooth, they fell in the bathroom.
Oh,
right?
No.
That's severe facial trauma was your wording. And then you're doing full mouth reconstruction 1 year out of school, or no, not even a year. You're just out of school.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you know how dental school is. You graduate and you do 4 crowns and 15 fillings, and they send you out on your own and you're a dentist. And I did not feel that way. I got to my residency and man, did they really teach you about dentistry. I was in Newark, Israel, which is a major trauma center, along with, it was UMD at the time, it's Rutgers Dental now. They had no oral surgery residents. So any trauma that came to the 5 of us dental residents. So we were on call every 5th week, and we were called down to the emergency room. And you know how Newark is on a Saturday night in the summer, there's a lot of action going on.
Oh, I know a lot about that.
Yeah. So there were quite a few lacerated tongues, lacerated lips, tons of broken jaws. I mean, I was setting broken jaws in the operating room with some of the oral surgeons. I was at a dental school a couple months. It was amazing. So our skill set was, it skyrocketed. But we were all by ourselves, so we were left to do it. And there were some, there were gunshot wounds we had to take care of, and remember the one night we were so busy in the ER that they asked me, "Can you sew an arm?" I'm like, "You're kidding. I could do behind number 2 tooth. An arm's easy. I could see that."
So it's not going to hurt my neck or my back either.
That's easy. And half the patients, they had their own anesthesia coming in. So Yeah, it wasn't too bad, but it was a great experience there. The attendings were amazing. They were really into educating us, making us the best that we could be, and they really took their time with us. They were excellent. I mean,
Did you
dental
have to
school,
do
yeah,
did you have to do like papers and research on on research, right? Like what's happening and present cases and all that stuff?
yeah, a little bit of that. We definitely presented cases, especially the OR cases and the things that patients were admitted. We'd present them to the rest of the residents and to the attendings and have a group discussion about what we did, why we did it, and what the future was for that patient.
Okay. Did you have to take a lot of pictures and stuff like that to do it, or was it mostly just like oral
Somewhat,
history?
yeah, somewhat. Most of it was oral history. I mean, this was the early '90s, so
Yeah.
my first
Not
camera
you're
was
not
a
taking out your
big Polaroid.
Motorola flip phone, right?
No, 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 not at all. But no, it
Okay.
was an excellent
Well, actually, the
experience.
Motorola flip phone didn't even have a camera on it. That's for sure.
No,
Not
I had a
90.
beeper back then. We didn't even have cell phones.
That's right. I remember my first cell phone. I got it when I was in private practice in October 91. I had a 1984 Chevy Monte Carlo with about 130,000 miles on it. And I put one of those phones in that had the squiggly wire in the back.
Oh
So
yeah.
everybody knew you had a cell phone. And I'd pull up to a traffic light, and here I am in this ratty old car with my cell phone. And the person next to me looked at me on the phone, then looked at the car, and they were like, "What the hell?" Something doesn't jive. All right, so
Oh,
they ignite your passion, right? And you went into it, I'm sure, with open eyes and open ears, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So talk about like when you were growing up, though. Said you were the first person that went to college, let alone dental school. What did your folks do? What was the environment you grew up in?
No, it was a pretty normal suburban, upbringing. Um, like I said, my father had his own business. Mom worked at home, or was a housewife. She did took care of us kids, and we grew up, and all my friends, together. We all went to college. We all went different ways. I was really the only science nerd that kind of went off that way. Everybody else went into business, and the new thing at the time was computers.
Mhm.
So a lot of people went into that, which
Commodore
sometimes I kick
64.
myself. I'm like, man, I missed the boat on that. But it's a good thing I love what I do. And yeah, so basically when it came time to open my own practice, I opened it in the town I grew up in. So I figured that would be a good place to do it. I knew, friends from high school, friends, neighbors, and that's how I kind of developed my patient base and got my referrals. So I practiced right where I grew up, and it was a really good experience. And that's how I learned that.
Yeah, but you didn't walk into that, right? You finished your
Oh no.
residency and you went to work. So,
Yeah.
but before we get to that, because I'm going to ask you that question, was there any talk or influence? Well, you never thought about the dental or medicine, but once you did decide it, did you ever go back and think to yourself, well, Dad used to talk about this, and were there any conversations that gave you a little background that gave you what you felt like not an edge, but a comfort level going into that, or no?
Not necessarily. I remember the only advice that my father gave me, because I was fortunate enough to get into a number of dental schools. I whittled it down to UPenn and UMD, which was our in-state school.
Yeah.
And at the time, again, I knew nothing. I was the first one to go to college. So we were just, asking different dentists, what school to go to. And everybody said, oh, go to Penn. It's a great school. It's the best, blah, blah, blah. And my father said, well, think about it. You're going to go there and it's going to cost you twice as much money as if you go to the in-state school. And I should have listened to him because I left with, a ton of debt around my neck like everybody else. But it worked out fine. It worked out fine.
All right. If you don't mind, how much debt did you graduate dental school in?
Back then, probably about 250 grand. So, 30 years ago, account for
Yeah.
inflation.
250 back then.
Yeah.
I can't even guess what it is now, but I do know that now the averages are 3 to 4, right? I think it's pushing 4 now.
Easy.
Right.
Easy.
But like when I just spoke up at the dental school, I spoke last year, I just spoke last weekend for part 1. I got part 2 coming up, which is cool. And we use 300 as a number to do a couple calculations, but I said this is old. We got to kind of bump this to 400,000 now.
Oh, yeah. I
But
don't know how the
think
kids
about it,
do it.
250. That and because everybody's going to tell you, right? When you graduated, it was easy. You weren't in the debt, and you know, the younger docs are going to say that's not relative. Absolutely. You graduated at the time with suffocating debt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right.
And that's why we had to work 6 days a week. I had to pay it off. You know, we were young, we were raising a family, so I couldn't depend on starting
Yeah.
a practice from scratch and having any income.
So you finish your residency.
Yep.
While you're in your residency, you know, they basically put your loan on pause, right?
You're right.
Your note on pause, and you're making, I'm gonna guess that time probably 60 grand as a resident.
It was even less than that. I think it was probably like 40 or so, which was good money back then.
Oh my God, you've been shackled to 40 grand
Yeah.
back in 1992. You kidding me? Anyway, so yeah, I had friends of mine that graduated in 89. So they were doing their residency in 89, and they were making, depending on where they were making anywhere from 40 to 50 or 60. So
Yeah.
okay, so when you're there, my question is though, more importantly, while you're in the residency program, you're thinking about, okay, life, right? I got to get out and
Absolutely.
I gotta earn a buck. And in your personal situation, are you married at this point? You have kids? What's happening?
We were just at the residency. I wasn't quite married. I was probably married about 2, 3 years out of residency.
Okay, so you're finishing residency still as a single guy, still 250 hanging around that noose around your neck,
Yep.
and you go where and how do you find your job? What do you do?
Well, my first job was through one of my attendings. He had a beautiful practice down in South Jersey in Hamilton. A great, great guy, Sid Whitman. And yeah, he's still around today. He's a wonderful, wonderful advisor. He had a Medicaid practice in addition to this beautiful practice he had. So that was my first job. I was actually moonlighting during my residency to make some money. So I would drive from North Jersey down to Trenton, good hour and a half ride, go down there and work in this Medicaid practice and, bust my butt, but I got my speed up. And again, you learn.
When did you do that?
That was during my residency. So that was like 93.
No,
And
when?
I
Like
did that
what
for a couple of
day?
years.
Weekend? Like were you out of
Yeah,
the
exactly.
It was funny. I interviewed, I can't remember who I spoke to, but he would work, he moonlighted 3, 4 nights a week, and then he worked on Saturday. And I was like, you know, if you do the math on the hours and people are afraid of, I think people are afraid of work at certain points. You know, you want to ask Gene Simmons how to get out of debt. He'll tell you, you work on Saturday, Sunday, work 16 hours a day. You put, you get, a whole nother weekend and, blah, blah, blah. But,
Yeah.
are people willing to do that? So you're working all day long. And then on the weekends, you're working Saturday and Sunday or just Saturday?
All day Saturday.
All day Saturday. So full
Yep.
day, like 8 to
If it
5.
was open Sunday, I'd be there.
Right. But you work like 8 to 5, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They were long days. And plus the travel. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
8 hours of work, 3 hours of travel. It's 11-hour day. No problem. After a full day in the clinic in the hospital, and there's no way they're 40 hours. Your
Oh
Monday
no.
through Friday are probably 50 to 60 hours, I'm guessing.
Easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, I
So,
would work, 24/7 if I could. I was young. I, wasn't quite married at the time.
okay.
And I just wanted to get rid of that debt as quickly as possible.
Now, financially, what did it mean? Like, what were you bringing in from that job, that 1 day a week job? You bringing in a grand?
Whatever it was enough to, keep me going and put a little bit towards that debt and start whittling it down.
So now
And
you're
that's
paying directly on principal, right? Because you're not having to pay it yet.
Yeah.
All right, smart. I like this.
Yep.
Dave Ramsey, 101, baby.
Yep. You
All
got to
right.
get rid of that debt.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So let's, I'll take a ballpark. You're making 400, 500 bucks maybe on the weekend,
Yeah, something like that back
something
then.
like that. Right. Okay. But that's over $1,000 a month.
Yeah, I mean, that
Okay.
again, 30 years ago, that was a decent amount of money.
And you had to pick up your speed. You said, did you learn any of the business aspects?
That's one thing that obviously dental school teaches you nothing at
Right.
all.
Most people it's lacking.
Yeah. So a lot of the business that I've learned has been learning it myself, trial and error. I've learned over the years to try to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, and get a good accountant, get a good lawyer, get a good advisor, and let them do what they do and kind of stay out of their way. But yeah, I got some business, acumen from the attendings, a little bit, and the rest of it was just on my own.
Any mentors along the way, like in that first?
Yeah, I definitely would gravitate towards that. I had many part-time jobs too. One of them, I had a really great mentor for a couple of years. He actually moved out to Colorado. Otherwise, I would probably still be with him. But he was great. He saw that I just love dentistry. I would sit there in between patients and be reading books on occlusion. I mean, that's like the driest subject in the world. And
Oh,
he'd be like,
brutal.
yeah, I'll be
Sorry.
reading Dawson's book, and he'd be like, either there's something wrong with you, you really love this. I'm like, well, it could be both. I'm not sure. But he really took me under his wing and taught me how to do things right. I learned how to do things wrong for quite a few years working for some, we'll say, unscrupulous people.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned how I didn't want to live my life and how I
Okay.
didn't want to practice dentistry. So I guess you learn as much by seeing what you don't want to do as what you do want to do.
So you finish your residency. You have this Saturday morning gig with this guy that you know well. And you also said he had another really good practice or a different practice. Now, what did you do? What did your life look like in your first 6 months post GPR? How many jobs did you have? How did you find them? Tell me some background there.
Sure. I mean, I probably had, at some times I'd had two or three different jobs, just part-time jobs, making as much as I can. I'd work 6 days a week. If I found an office open on a Sunday, I probably would work that too, but I couldn't find one at the time. And yeah, again, I learned a little bit from each different job. I learned, how to treat people, how not to treat people, a little bit about business, a lot about dentistry, and how to get my speed up because that's what they expected back then. And the residency really, really helped me with that because I had a lot of confidence leaving my residency. Very little confidence going in, leaving dental school. But once I left my residency, it felt like, throw
Mm-hmm.
something at me, I got it. It's no problem. We were taking out impacted wisdom teeth, we were setting broken jaws, we were doing, the most complicated root canals you could have. I had wonderful, wonderful attendings there. They were top guys. And even one of the oral medicine guys. He was a chief of the residency program. I'll never forget Dr. Spicer. I still like always look up to him. He was like how you would want to pattern your your lifestyle or how you want to pattern your professional life. Very, very honest, very brightest guy I've ever met, smartest guy ever, but very, very honest, very matter of factly. This is what it is, and this is what you do, and just always looked up to him for that. So yeah, I did have a couple mentors. Not long lived. It would have been nicer to have someone, maybe buy into a practice and have someone to learn from, especially the business part of it. But again, went out on my own and made all my own mistakes for better or for worse. And you live and you learn. But
Okay.
now going forward, where I am now in my life, we recently took on as my our first associate, so I'm able to hopefully teach her all the pitfalls that I went through, so she doesn't have to go through them and learn the hard way the way I did.
Does you have the right attitude?
Fantastic attitude. Yeah, we sit there
Can
and we
be
talk
it.
about teeth all day long.
Can be it. Everything else falls in place. If you philosophically are aligned, and I learned that word, by the way, align. I didn't use it,
Yes.
but a new associate, we were talking about something and I was like, why are we doing this? We were talking about a policy and it was this long conversation with all the docs. And I was like, how do you do this? She says, well, basically, this aligns with our core values. And I was like, oh my God, done. So, I love learning, but it's so true when you have that alignment and you feel it, because to me, it's visceral. I don't know if it's
Absolutely.
cerebral. And then the rest of it just falls into place. So good for you. Now, you do this for how long in these associateship positions? And did you become like a little more focused after 2 or 3 years? Like all of a sudden I'm working full time here, full time with a buy-in. I mean, what were you thinking? Because you did say in the very beginning, I always wanted to kind of run my own ship.
Mhm.
Where were you at in your process now after like a year or two of working 4, 5, 6 jobs? What were you thinking?
I always would go into it thinking, probably naively, that that would be the place that, I'm going to buy into eventually and live
Mhm.
there and happily ever after. It never really worked out that way for different reasons. Um, but I was always hopeful that that would be it. I, wound up working this one practice that paid me very well, and it was a god awful place to work.
Oh,
The
wow.
the guy was unscrupulous. We would call him the devil. He was awful. But again, he taught me how not to run a practice, how not to treat people.
A lot of value there. That's a
Exactly,
lot of
exactly.
value in the long run. It's
Yeah,
brutal
and
when you're doing it.
exactly. It showed me how not to do things. I mean, he would, it was a big insurance practice, and he would sit there in the beginning of the month and get all his checks and hope to God that no one came in. And if they came in, you do as little as possible. So we butted heads quite a bit over, I probably worked there about like 4 years on and off as I was whittling my way out. And we butted heads quite a bit, probably, every day. And he, he's the kind of guy that, he had 4 or 5 malpractice cases against him. He didn't care as long as he had his money, and he would have his jet and his horses and his cars. And I'd be like, how is he doing it? But patients came to him, and they had no idea how they were treated. And I was in my room, and I'm trying to do the best dentistry I can and getting chastised for taking too long. But again, that's you live and learn. But a side note to that, and you'll appreciate this too. He knew I was a Syracuse grad, and he was golfing with a bunch of guys. One of them needed a tooth fix, needed a root canal. So he brings him in the next day. He goes, go in your room. I want you to go do a root canal on that guy. Well, I'm like, well, who's in my room? I walk in there, he's Jim Brown. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Now I'll like light up. So I wound up doing a root canal
Wow.
on Jim Brown. Got pictures taken, Adam signed like everything. Oh, it was amazing. And he was the nicest guy in the world.
Nice guy.
Nicest guy.
Nice guy.
Scared to death because I'm in the chair. I'm like shaking, like, God, I can't hurt this guy. I gotta make him numb. I'm like, oh crap.
That's one of those where the roles reverse. You can say, oh my God, I don't really want to be here.
Yeah,
No
exactly. I
offense.
wanted to, but at the same time, like, can he come in for a cleaning or something?
Yeah. How about we just polish off a filling? How about we just polish it? It's fine.
Like, oh my God, I don't want to have to
Wow.
stick this man with a
Wow.
needle.
Wow.
But that was a good day. But again, learn to not do things that way. And I decided I wanted to have my own practice. So I was there Monday through Friday, half day on Wednesday, I believe. So I started my practice in Caldwell from scratch, rented a space, rented a room. It was
Hey, when was this? When did you open scratch?
that probably like 98 or so.
Okay.
So I
98.
worked
Did
there all day Saturday, and on most of the days on Wednesday, and kind of build it up from there, and just whittled my time. As I got busier and grew the practice, I would drop a day at this other practice and add one to mine, and then keep going that way until I got to full
how
time.
far is this from where you're practicing? How far are these two practices?
Probably at least an hour away.
So 40 miles?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably, yeah. Down in
Okay. So
Central
there's
Jersey.
no compete issue, right?
Oh no. And he
Hey,
was
does he
there.
know that you're doing this?
Yes and no. I mean, I kind of told him eventually. I mean, again, he was the worst guy in the world. I threatened to quit so many times. He's like, no, go come back and he'd throw more money. I'm like, well, kind of need the money. So I'd stay there and do what I had to do. But I knew that I wanted to be elsewhere. And I
Okay.
actually had a couple of my first assistant actually came up from down there. She was the one that I was playing cards with at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I rented a room in a two-family house in Caldwell. It was a converted dental office. Another dentist was there. He rented out this operatory to me, which turned out to be the kitchen of this two-family house. So behind me was the kitchen sink with the breadboard, and I had everything I owned in one treatment room. He had a dark room where he was dipping x-rays, and I had a processor. It was a good old days. But everything I owned was in there, and we started from zero patients and built it up until we outgrew it, and then we finally moved like 10 or 11 years later. But they were good times. They were good
So you
times.
started, you said one operatory,
One treatment room, yep.
Saturday only, and
One person, one
but the
assistant.
reception, how much square footage did you have? How much space do you have?
Whatever I could reach. If I stretched out my arms, that was about it. It was one treatment room. We
Right,
shared.
but you had no reception desk, no nothing?
Oh no, wasn't allowed near his reception desk. So I had one assistant who was my receptionist, my assistant. I, of course, did all my own hygiene, which in retrospect was a great way to start a practice, because you'd spend so much time with that patient getting to know them. And that's what I've been telling my new associate. I'm like, do the hygiene while you can. Talk to the patients, get to know them. You'll see more. You're spending more time with them
Right.
than 5 minutes for an exam. You'll really get to know the patient and what they're all about. And that's how I help build the practice. That's what kind of differentiated us a little bit. I mean, we really, everybody says they care about their patients, and I guess we all do it to some extent. But we really took our time to know our patients, and they're all
Okay.
like friends and family, and 1 degree of separation from someone else. Everybody knew someone else.
But you signed up for every plan. You put yourself on every list there was.
Yep.
You joined, you credentialed, you did all that stuff, right? That's 1998.
Yep.
Give me a snapshot of the year 2000, right? So you survived Y2K. That's first thing.
Yes.
Survived it. At that point, though, you're probably full-time in your private. At what time did you go full-time in your private practice?
Probably, I would say, around 2000 or so, about right around there. Because again, I was down to 2 days a week at the other practice and 4 days by me. And then once I came up, I was open 6 days a week.
Now,
So I was there.
what did your physical office look like at this point, though? It wasn't just one treatment room, no.
It was one treatment room.
Still?
Yeah,
Full-time.
that's all it was. Full time, one treatment room. It was, again, as a 2-family house. You walked into the waiting room, which was the living room. You
Okay.
deviated to the right. That's where the other dentist was. You deviated to the left, and that's where my treatment room was.
Okay. So
Everything I
you
had was
shared
in
your
there.
reception area then, right?
We did everything in that treatment room. Set up our appointments,
No, but
payments.
I'm saying your living room / reception area was a little bit for you and a little bit for the other.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And
Yes.
How long did you stay in this place with one out?
Till we outgrew it. So we started with 0 patients, and when we got bursting at the seams, and we had to do it, we moved probably about 2 miles away and built a brand new office.
And so you have to do your own hygiene. You have no hygienist. You have no way
Yeah,
you can do
there's
hygiene.
nowhere to put a hygienist.
Right.
I had one room.
So how long did you practice in this one room?
Probably total between the part-time and full-time, almost like 5 years.
Okay,
But like
5 years.
full-time, probably about 2 years there.
Okay, so 5 years, you're there. Then you bought and built your own office. How close by? Was it just like a mile around? What was it?
Yeah, about a mile and a half, 2 miles.
Okay.
Pretty much the same town. It was in a great location. We gutted an old physical therapy building. It's in an office condo. So we bought the double unit and did brand new construction, gutted it down to the floor and the ceiling, and
What'd
created
you
a
make it
treatment.
look like? How many rooms? How many treatment rooms?
So there right now we have about 1,400 square feet. We have 3 treatment rooms, 2 for me, 1 for a hygienist, and a beautiful reception area, front desk, and that's all we've needed. And we've really outgrown that now, but I'm probably not
sure you
going
have.
anywhere at this point.
Now, how many? Is there any chance to expand there? Or is 1,400 your outer walls?
You can. I mean, there's definitely opportunity to expand on either side. So that's something that maybe in the future, definitely for the associate, because she's interested in doing things that I don't want to do, like placing implants, and so we'll need room for a CT, things like that. So
I'm
there's
surprised you
definitely room
don't. I
to
mean,
expand.
you did so much continuing it. I'm surprised you don't place them. You can only do so much though, right?
Exactly. And I'm very fortunate to have the practice where I could do what I want to do. Um, I got away from doing root canals just because I was so bored. I mean, the assistant would fall asleep. I would fall asleep. So I kind of got away
Not
from
good.
that a
Fall
little
asleep with a
bit.
file in your hand.
Oh my God, it was awful. So I mean, I have a friend who's an endodontist. It's like, God bless her. I mean, she's fantastic, but how, like, I don't know how she does it every day, but she does it like 10 times faster than me. So I kind of got away from that. But so, the new associate, she does some root canals. She wants to place implants. I love doing all kinds of restorative dentistry. A little niche. I like doing a lot of Invisalign. We started doing sleep apnea treatment, and that's all stuff that I really, really enjoy doing. So plus all the laser training that I had. I mean, we've been dealing with lasers for 15 years, and that's its own kind of niche in it and of itself. There's a lot of education with that, a lot of investment, and we yeah, I mean, it's worked out very well there.
Well, you and your associate are complementary, so that's a practice boost right there. You're going to need the other treatment room. Sorry.
Oh, definitely. And
Yeah,
that's what I kind of told her. I said, I hope you like it here. We'll see. So we'll see how things are going.
okay. So now let's talk the business side. Let's talk fee for service. You were in
Yes.
all these plans like we established. 5 years out, you build your own office. You're still in the insurance plans, I'm assuming, or have you
Yes.
started migrating out at this point?
Once we moved and I started looking at the numbers, we started dropping them little by little. And I was probably in 7 or 8 plans, and we started with the smallest amount of patients first and dropped that one and dropped that one. I just besides the numbers of it, I was really taking it kind of personally because I was working really hard and getting paid, you know, 30 cents on the dollar from some of these insurance companies.
Did you dive in and understand your numbers well enough? Because I find a lot of people didn't. They just figured asses in chair, money coming in, check arrives on Monday, on the first and the third Mondays of the month. I mean, did you really understand how much you were giving away when you were taking those plans?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was again, I took that very personally too. And I think that's what prompted me to really go towards fee for service because it made no sense. Because I would have, if you take 2 patients, one has insurance that's paying $500 a crown, one's paying 1,000 a crown. I'm treating them exactly the same. I'm using exactly the same labs. Everything's the same. The only one that's taking a hit is me.
Right.
So then I was like looking at these numbers going, this is crazy. I'd rather sit here and do 1 patient, make my money and go home or stare at the walls and hope for someone else to come in than have to see 2 or 3 to make the same amount of money. It just didn't make sense. So little by little, and again, we didn't want to do it all at once. We were trying to build our practice at the time. So little by little, we dropped those plans until we got to the end when the big one was Delta. And that was, you know, 20%, 22% of our practice. So that was in my mind, was a big risk. But what I learned is over time, as we dropped these plans, very few patients left. They really enjoyed coming to where we were. They knew they were going to pay maybe a little bit more, but they're using their added network benefits. It's not like all of a sudden they had no insurance. And it's just the proper education and showing them that there really is not a significant difference between in-network and out-of-network. Certain things there may be, but for the most part, it's really not a big deal at all. And we wound
Okay.
up keeping most of those patients. Some had left and some came back.
So talk about the financial impact. If you can remember, I mean, I'm not going to hold you to exact numbers, but so you dropped some low-hanging fruit, you said, right?
Yes.
What was your strategy to doing it? Did you just say, listen, I'm just going to tell people, what was your strategy to drop those plans?
The strategy was to try to keep the patients there and try to keep them happy. So we
But
always
how?
had
What were you
verbal
going
conversations with them. I would
face
never
to
just
face?
send out an email or send out a letter. By the way, next time you come in, we're going to be out of network. Say the first plan that we dropped had 25, 30 people. I made sure that we had a strategy in place to address that and have that conversation in person with that patient.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they appreciated that. And I think that went a long way than just people that send out letters and saying we're
Right.
dropping your plan or we're not going to be in it next time you come in for your cleaning. And that was very important. And even with our Delta patients, it took us, by the time I decided to drop Delta to actually doing it, it may have taken 15 months or so because I
Now,
wanted to hit all those people.
when you decided to do it, how many team members did you have? How many were on your squad?
I think we had 6 at the time.
Okay, 6 people. Now, did you have to get buy-in? Did you explain it to them? How did they become vital into doing this?
They bought into it once I explained to them the number situation because they didn't really see. All they saw was, checks coming in, money coming in.
Right.
They had no idea. Some of them did. If you looked at the front desk, she saw some of the write-offs. And at the end of the year, I'd say, look at this number of write-offs. This is all insurance write-offs. This $100,000, $150,000. That's money that's gone. You're never going to get that back. That we earned, we're never going to get it. And the patients, they were all treated the same. They all got the same amount of dentistry. I had blinders on. I didn't care who had insurance and who didn't. They were all treated the same. And
Did you ever
that's what killed
mention?
us. What's
Did you ever
that?
mention? Listen, patient in room 1, patient in room 2 are getting the same service. Patient in room 2 is paying 50% less. Is that fair to patient 1?
No, it's not fair to the doctor either.
Right,
Or it's,
but I mean, just in terms of the patients, like, well, my
yeah,
neighbor got it done for $500. How come I got to pay $1,000? Right?
yeah, it's almost like they're subsidizing the practice.
Right. So the people without insurance, maybe you know what I mean? Like that starts to me, it trickles in. Did that ever come up? Was that a conversation that you had to have?
Somewhat, but I also wanted to make the point to the staff too that regardless of if it's an insurance patient or a non-insurance patient, they're getting paid the same too. They're
Right.
not getting paid different by treating a non-insurance patient or insurance patient. The only one that's taking a hit is me personally. Everybody else had the same treatment, exact same. You couldn't tell the difference. And that's what I always wanted to do is always put the patient first, do the best clinical dentistry I could, always treat patients like family. And that regardless of how they were paying, whether it's insurance or non-insurance or financing, whatever it is, that was irrelevant. It was always putting the patient first, and that's the culture that we developed in our practice, and that's what we still have.
Okay. So you dropped the first, you low hand. Let's walk through that now. So now you're out of most of them. What was the financial impact leading up to the big one, the big final one that you dropped? Financially, did you had to see an increase in your revenue,
Yes,
right?
yes, and
Profit
that was
margin had to go up. Actually your expenses quote go down, but it's because your profits are going up.
yeah, it was a really big game changer for us because we showed the team the numbers, and so they understood where we were going and why we were doing what we were doing, and it all made sense to them. So the fact they were all on board, but again, I wanted to take our time and do it the right way and not just, cut off. You worry the night before, you're like, God, I could lose like 30% of my practice tomorrow. Everybody could leave.
Right.
And of course it doesn't work out that way, but that's the realization. So, we always you take that risk, but like I said, we've had a few patients leave and come back because they've gone other places and weren't treated the right way. And we welcome them back with open arms. If someone tells them, look, or tells me they can't afford something and they need to go somewhere else, I'm with them. I'm here for you. If you need anything, you need to come back. You're always welcome here. So
Okay. So
it worked out.
now comes D-Day, right?
Yep.
And that's 50% of your practice, you
That was
said?
probably about 25% at the time.
Oh, 25% of your practice. Okay.
Yep.
A little less. Okay. As you know, I'm doing that podcast 4-part series with Tom Rowan. It's over 50% of his practice is Delta.
That's
Excuse
tough.
me, is an insurance company that may or may not rhyme with an airplane. Okay.
Yes.
So that's your final one that you have to make that call. Now there's a little more at stake,
Yeah.
but you've got some momentum. Did that help you moving forward?
Yes. Looking at the fact that we didn't lose too many patients and we were making more money doing less work,
Yeah.
it just made so much more sense. So
Okay.
I was very confident in that decision. You're still a little worried about it, but I think in my head I knew it was the right thing. And man,
Anybody
dropping
on your
Delta,
team doubting Thomas that you had to really, or Thomasina? Anybody you really had to have like
one or two,
heart
but
to hearts with?
they weren't around for a long time.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think people understand almost all the time you're going to lose at least one person because sometimes they can't do it. They can't bring themselves to buy in.
No, they can't wrap their heads around what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Mhm.
So again, they're over the years, you probably know, like staffing is probably the biggest headache you have, getting the right staff on board. And
Say it louder for the people in the back.
oh, without a doubt.
Yep.
But I'll tell you right now, I'm blessed. I have a fantastic team. They're amazing. And that's one of the things that I strive for. And people comment on that all the time about how great our team is. And I'm very proud of them. They're amazing. But look, over the years, I mean, I have a friend of mine who used to call me Murphy Brown because I would fire somebody like once a month. I
Mhm.
never had a cohesive group. There was always one malcontent. Three were good, one wasn't. Four were good, one wasn't. And you always had it was always trying to fill in and get that right mix, get that right group of people for you.
Did you fire them too late or were you good?
I learned the hard way to fire quickly. Some of them, in the beginning, I was afraid of the devil you don't know versus the devil you know. And I should have, looking back now, should have fired much faster. But I learned the hard way. And now when I have to do it, I just realize right away it may not be a great match, and they got to go. So that old saying of hire slow and fire fast, and that's what you got to do.
Tom Reed, that's what he said. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
But I think we are a little bit sappy, right? I think I can do it. I remember this is, and you think all the good reasons, and we definitely we're not very quick with it. And I've been doing it 35 years, and I still say we could do better, but it's harder. It's tougher. The stakes are a little higher, more and more with less and less workforce people.
Yeah,
So,
things have certainly changed.
so you get out of the big bad boy, and
Yes.
what does your practice look like for the next 6 months? Talk a little bit about some of the attrition, because that definitely happens. Talk about how that happens.
It does. And I had people that would say, you look, I love coming here, but I can't afford to go out of network. And that's fine. I understand that. I completely understand at the end of the day, you have to put food on the table, you have to support your family. And I get that. But again, no animosity whatsoever. And I tell people, look, we loved having you for the past couple of years. If anything changes and you want to come back, you're always welcome to. We also offered we started a VIP savings plan and an office membership, which has gone fantastic. It's gone really well. It was originally designed for patients who had no insurance, but I found patients that had like really bad insurance. If they decided didn't want to use their benefits and wanted to do this, it was a no-brainer. It really is. It's if you look at the numbers, I don't know why everybody doesn't sign up with it.
So they still have their insurance, they just don't use it? Are you sure they don't use it?
Exactly. They can't use it, can't double dip.
Are you
So
sure?
as long as they sign off, they're not using their benefits, they could do this VIP plan. And it's controlled by us.
Yeah, we found someone that was using it,
Uh
and then we were like, okay, you're out of the plan.
yeah.
And they
Yeah.
were like upset. Well, the only reason we found out because the insurance company called, there was a date wrong or something. Like, wait a second, we have never submitted this. This is not, this is not something we have anything on file for. And you know,
Yeah.
double dip. You're not kidding. And it's I don't know what it's like in different states, but I worry about that being a case of fraud. So
Yeah, it probably, is something you need to worry about. But with knock on wood, we haven't had that yet, because if patients that if they have insurance are signing off that they're not using it. So, we document it best we can. But we did all our background work when we first started this years ago. I even talked to the state board, how can we do this? What's the best way to do this? And they're like, no, as fun as you're not offering insurance, you're not,
right.
you're offering a discount plan. And it's like I said, it's worked phenomenal. It was designed just to market towards patients with no insurance. But again, some of these patients that have really bad insurance and have avoided dentistry because of that, it's a no-brainer for them.
I've had people go drop their insurance and pick up our plan. Like they went and they were like, I can do this for that. Yeah, I'm going to drop bring in proof your insurance is out. We're good.
Sure. Well, as a patient all the time, are you paying for your insurance? And they're like, no. Well, then, that's a different story. But if they're paying $500, $600 a year to get $1,000 benefit, think about it. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, by the time you add up the deductibles and, all the other things, no. There's one plan. And when we found out about it, like we had IBM as a big employer in the area, and then IBM was closing, and then they were changing the retiree benefits. So we brought as many people in as we can. We said, listen, this is all informational only. This is what we found out. Because they were saying, listen, you can pay for your dental benefits, or you can go on your own. And, so we looked and we said, there's really, at this point, there was one option for a dental plan by standalone, meaning it wasn't connected to a medical plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened to be a certain insurance company we won't name. And it was a 1-year wait for all benefits.
Oh, God.
1-year wait. And the deductible and this, and I was like, okay, so you're paying in, but the course of the year, you've paid $400 and you got zero. The following year, then you do qualify. So now you've built up reserves. Like this is the plan. So if you need a tooth extracted or you have a problem and you need a root canal, you got no coverage.
That's a great racket. So you get someone to pay for
but it was in the
no
fine
benefit.
print. Yeah,
That's excellent. Hey,
Now, it might have covered like cleanings, it might have covered preventive, but it didn't cover any services.
It's crazy. I mean, with our plan, if you look at the numbers, if you it's one fee for the year and you
Yeah.
get all your preventive care. If you do nothing else, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But you also
That's
get a 15% discount on any other dentistry you want, whether it's a single filling or you want to do an Invisalign case.
right.
I don't care if you have a $20,000 case, sign up with a plan. It makes so much more sense. There's no maximum.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And like
There's a lot of no's. There's no maximum. There's no waiting periods. There's
no
no denials. There's
deductibles.
no approvals.
No.
There's no limits. You know, I remember when we did it, we met with the attorney that was recommended by New York State Dental Association. So we met with the attorney and he recommended we put a limit in there. It's a lot of exposure. And I was like, what's the downside? There's no downside to me. Person does $10,000 worth of work, he gets it. Oh, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to say, listen, you can only do 5 this year. Well, why that made zero sense to me. So it was one of
Exactly.
the very few times I told my lawyer, not listening. You know,
You knew what you're doing.
I hope so. We'll figure it out. I'm still kind of not sure I'm there.
Yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, if you're doing a $10,000 case and they're getting $1,500 off, that's an incentive for them to do the case right there.
Well, you
They're
know
not
what?
going to get that
We
somewhere
used to
else.
give a prepayment, and to me, for you to enjoy those benefits, you got to pay it in full at the time of service, the
Yep.
very first step, right?
Absolutely. That's what we do too.
And we used to offer cash. You pay cash, it was a 5 or 10%. So I was like, okay, so if we're doing 5% cash prepay, now they're going to prepay all this work. What's 10%? What's 15? You know, like you start to look at it like, and it's paid up front. Now you have to be careful, you know, but still, I think it's a smart way of doing business.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's certain things you have to be careful of, like, combining discounts, and you don't want to necessarily give, that 50% discount and then do care credit and you're going to take
Yeah.
another 12% hit on top of that.
Yeah, or credit
Then
cards, credit card
it
charges.
starts adding up.
I agree. All right. Anything you want to cover? Getting up against anything else you want to cover? Here's your chance. Throw it out there. Anything you've experienced that you want to share with everybody?
One of the things I guess that prompted me to talk to you was I guess overcoming adversity over the years, and I've had my fair share of that, and I've come out the other side. So and I'm sure other dentists that may or may not be listening, and I've gone through different things in their lives that have kind of put them behind the 8 ball, but they're not alone. So one of the things that happened to me was, I guess it was 2019, so it was in December. I was perfectly healthy, as far as I knew. Never had a problem. Never, went to the doctor or anything. Uh, Went to a Devils game with my son one Friday night. Woke up the next morning, Saturday morning, had a massive stroke.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, and thank God I didn't lose any cognitive ability, but I had it was pretty significant otherwise. So I remember, like, being in the ER and the doctor's like, well, you had a stroke, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can go back to work on Monday, right? And just like, they're like laughing, like, yeah, right. So that was a long haul. That was 2019. So I couldn't swallow, couldn't walk, had like
Oh
limited
my
movement
goodness.
in my left arm, but I knew I was going to get back. So went through recovery, went through physical therapy. This was beginning of 2020.
Oh my
So I'm in
God.
physical therapy
Then
2
COVID.
months. Yeah, and then COVID hit, and that shut everybody down. I don't remember how it was in New York, probably just as bad in New Jersey,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
the
2
governor
months.
decided we were non-essential. So on top of that, everybody was shut down. So I didn't really go back to seeing patients again till, like, I guess June or so when they lifted it.
Yeah.
So by that time, came back to work. I was rehabbed. I was, physically fine to work. And thank God I didn't lose any dexterity in my hands or anything. Still can't walk a balance beam, but that's besides the point. We started again with almost zero patients again, because and everybody else that went through this knows, when COVID hit and you were starting to open up again, no one wanted to go to the dentist. So even though we were technically open, we had like no patients again. So we went from, being a $1 million practice, being up here, to me getting sick, then going COVID. We went down like a hot potato. And it was just, kind of getting back. We lost staff. We had to start all over again. So it was like, New Jersey Center for Laser and Cosmetic Dentistry 2.0.
Right.
We just started all again, new staff, and ramped it back up again. So it was a tough year. 2020, it sucked for a lot of people, but it really sucked for us too.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Wow, that's unreal. That's unreal. And you started all over. You lost your whole team.
Yeah, pretty much. So
Wow.
I had like one person
Did you
left.
have any thoughts about going back into plan?
I thought about staying home. I went, gee, disability is not so bad, but I'm like, yeah, I am too young for this. I need to get back. I really never thought seriously about not going back because this is what I do. This is what I love to do. And I tell people, if I hit the lottery, I'm still going to do this, do it a
Right.
little differently, but
Yeah,
I'm still
people
gonna
think
get
I'm
it.
crazy. I say the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, we're really, that's what I try to tell my associate too. I mean, we're blessed with what we do. I mean, think of how many careers out there can you heal somebody with your hands.
Mhm.
I mean, even if you go to your GP, they're not even touching you, but patient comes in pain, you're using your hands to heal them and make them feel better. I mean, that's a blessing right there to me. I mean, I think we're pretty fortunate.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Jeff, Doctor Who's, he talks about that too. Goes into depth. It's true.
Yeah.
Never forget that. It's a powerful thing.
No, it is, and we're blessed to do that every single day. And that's you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, but at the end of the day, I'd still do what I do. And
Good stuff,
I'm
man.
fortunate with fee for service being able to do it the way I want to do it and doing what I want to do and being able to pick and choose and pursue laser dentistry or pursue sleep apnea, whatever it is, I can do it. I have that choice. I'm not beholden to, you know, doing amalgam fillings for, $30.
Hmm. I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Perseverance, that's for sure. You define that. Any other words you want to pass along?
No, just you know,
You did
doing the
say,
right.
wait, you did say
Yes.
I would never go back, right?
No, no, never go back.
You're glad it was the best thing you ever did. I mean, I don't want to say it. You say it. What were some of the things you said off air?
No, I was saying that, going no insurance and going fee for service is the scariest thing and the best thing I ever did. And I would never, never go back because you just all those times that the insurance company says, "Oh, you don't need the core buildup. Oh, you don't need this. You don't need scaling and replaning." There's none of that. It's all your decisions are based on what you know clinically, and you're offering the best treatment to your patient. Who cares what insurance says? There's some idiot sitting behind a desk somewhere who has no idea what they're doing. I have the patient in front of me. I'm doing the best I can for that patient. They're getting the best lab work. They're using the best technology, the best skills that we have. I have a great team. I have everything that I want. It's all because of fee for service dentistry. I could not do it, could not have the practice I have running insurance. I mean, you can't do it. And I see friends of mine trying to do it and they're struggling. And I'm trying to tell them, look, I'm working half as hard as you and making twice as much. There's something's got to give. And they're stressed and they're pulling their hair out of their heads. And some people didn't come back from COVID. They just closed their doors and walked away.
I know.
It was
I know.
just too much.
And some people are still feeling the effects of it, the stress and all that stuff
Oh yeah.
taking its toll.
So yeah, it's the best thing I ever did. And it's a great career. Tried to talk my kids into it, but none of them want to do it. So it's all me.
All right. So, final question.
Yes, sir.
You could go anywhere, any place, anytime, back in time. Where would you go? Why?
I'd go back to Syracuse. Those are the best 4 years of my life. Are you kidding me? Oh man, I had like no responsibilities. I lived across the street from the dome. You know how many concerts and
You in
games I
Sadler?
went to? Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
was
was in
in
Sadler.
Marshall for 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great for you. I mean, happy hour started Thursday after class and didn't end until Monday morning. It was great. And then I woke up and went to dental school, and like all of a sudden you had to pay attention. I'm like, oh crap.
Wow, that's great stuff, man. You were a varsity guy? Do you love varsity?
Love varsity. Yeah, I took my oldest daughter when she was looking at colleges. I begged her to look at Syracuse. So I got her to go up and go for the day and see the campus, went to varsity, had some pizza. She's like, yeah, it's great for you, Dad, but I'm not going here. I'm like, oh, you're killing me.
My youngest went, but she kind of went all by herself. I didn't push any of my kids anywhere. They were all big kids. They knew what they wanted, and they found schools that fit them. I never would have picked any of the schools my kids picked for them.
Oh no, same with me. It just worked out.
Tells me it's not my choice, it's theirs.
No, no, I know. She did it just to appease me. Look, I got a picture of her and Billy Orange. So, life's good. That's all I got out of it. And I'm happy with that. But
All
they
right,
all
my friend.
did
Well,
their
thank
thing.
you very much. I appreciate you. Thanks.
Great to finally talk to you. And yeah, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks for being on. Thanks for helping out a whole bunch of people.
Hopefully someone will pay attention and get something out of that.
They will. And if they want to reach you, you put your information. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Email me, text me, whatever they want. I'm always here. I'm on, a lot of the Facebook groups too, chiming in here and there.
You sent
So
me your bio. I'll put that in the show notes. Please just send me the contact info and I'll make sure that makes it there. Okay?
you got it, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. You have a great day.
You too.
Take care, Sonny. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Fee for Service Dentist Podcast. If you would like to share your fee for service story, please fill out our contact form at ffsdentistry.com. Also, be sure to join our Fee for Service Dentistry Facebook group. For help starting your dental membership plan, visit dentalmembershipdirect.com and membershipmastercourse.com. Finally, for help with in-house financing, visit dentalfinancingdirect.com. And don't forget, your story is what you make of it. This is your name on the door and your reputation on the line. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.